Yesterday we just looked at how we did a little exercise that helped us observe the activity of the mind, or what I call the egoic mind. Because we said that when we go inward and we start observing what is happening, what is arising within our consciousness, a big chunk of that space is usually taken by the thinking mind, right? Thoughts that come and go, cross the clouds that cross the blue sky of our consciousness, I call them. So clouds come, they exist for a while, they have their own history and life, and then they go again. They could stay there for a long time or not. That depends on what? It depends on how much energy we give to the thought. And what I define as energy is actually our identification with those thoughts. Like, I am thinking, oh, wait a second, this thought is very important. Let me finish it because I'm going to figure out my life if I can finish this thought, right? Every thought is going to try to make you feel like this is very important. Wait, let me think this well, And there is a sense of I am thinking and this is my thought, which is relatively true. But this identification is what gives the fuel, and energy to the thought that it will continue. And usually we also said there is the identification is like this my two hands together. And so when we are identified, we're lost in thought, let's say. And in the moment I notice, oh, I'm thinking, I was lost thinking, this happens. Well, there is a separation between the observer, which is my consciousness, I suddenly notice I'm thinking, and the thought, okay? This separation, the effect of this separation is that thought stops because I'm removing the fuel in that moment, which is the identification. I separate. Suddenly there is a subject and an object. It's not like, it's not fused. They're not fused together. And this is part of the work we do in meditation. We observe and we bring awareness to anything that is arising. And part of what happens, as we said, is this kind of a very frequent process of thinking, of the activity of the egoic mind. But what is this ego? Okay, what are we talking about when we say egoic mind? What are we referring to? To make it short and hopefully clear, you can look at the ego as the hard drive of your computer. That's how I like to see it. So this hard drive, when we are born, is empty, okay? Tabula rasa. There is nothing in there. So a baby is born very pure, we could say, all of us. A little, what we could call it, a little Buddha with the nappies on. Yeah, that's the image, the Buddha with the nappies. So this little Buddha is empty and pure, and but it cannot function in life and in society in this way. So it gets trained, let's say, and the first step that creates the formation, the beginning of the ego, is the perception of, oh, me and mother are not one, actually, anymore. Like, oh, I'm this and mother is that. And that's the beginning of the separation and the understanding that I am an individual. And that's also the beginning of the identity and the ego, which is necessary, very necessary. It has to be developed for many reasons. And above all, to function within a certain society. But this ego will be formed by the family, by the parents first, and by the society at large. And naturally, the parents have been formed by the society too. So in reality, it's the society that creates the ego through the parents as well. So whatever the parents have learned and they think is right or wrong, they will pass it on in the formation of this personality that is being formed, okay? So then they send a lot of messages to the little baby and they start saying, oh, don't do that, bad boy, you know, and you go like, oh, okay. So if I do this, I'm bad boy. So if I do this, it's good boy. So this is right, I do the right thing. So this is right, this is wrong. I put it in the right folder. And this, I put it in the wrong folder. And that goes on and on and on, right? So slowly, slowly we gather informations and we put them in the right folders in the hard drive of what is accepted and what is not, or what is right or what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. You know, all these dualities gets formed. And I do it because I am completely dependent on my parents. You know, every child is born completely dependent. We do not survive if we don't have somebody that cares for us. In humans particularly, we're very vulnerable, completely dependent. It's not like a horse that, you know, it comes out and is standing after 2 minutes, right, on his 4 legs and is, no, we can't even lift our head. We don't have even muscles to hold our head up. So we're so dependent. And as we grow, we're still dependent, you know, in the first years. And so absolutely our survival depends on our surroundings, our parents. And so absolutely we take any information that we feel like, okay, if I do this, I'm loved and accepted. And if I do that, I better don't do it because my own survival depends on that. So not only the energy of love is food for our soul, but also the real food and every care that we need is coming from the outside. So we immediately try to receive that. We try to receive care and love. And in a certain way, we make choices according to what we have been told that it's the right thing to do, you know. So that's the beginning of the formation of the ego. Then we go to school, other messages keep coming. Then we start our career, we go in the work environment, more messages, more things. And we just put all this information in these folders. At the end, we have this hard drive nicely full of what we think is right and wrong, and how we're going to be loved more and accepted more, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens here is that we are, at that point, from the very beginning, start identified with all this information that we receive. That's what I call the ego. We identify with the ego, we think this is me. But in reality, the real me, the real self, is the one we came in with, we are born with, the one who is still empty, you know, that pure space of consciousness that came into this body. So we call that the real self. It has many names, but to make it easy now, we call it the real self. And the ego is the substitute self, is what we start believing I am this, but in reality, this ego is just a bunch of informations put together in the hard drive, okay? But it becomes our substitute sense of self. So what we do in meditation is to try, and I have to say that the thinking mind or the egoic mind is, of course, an expression of that ego. It's how the ego functions. It's part of the main tool of that personality, because it contains also all the memories, and the memories are part, of course, of the ego, as we saw. They are in the folders, right? So what we do in meditation is to become aware of all this, become aware, first of all, of how much the thinking mind, the egoic mind, how much space it takes, and how much it affects our life. This identification with this hard drive full of concept. And we start observing what is happening when one thought ends and before the next thought starts. What is happening in that space? What is there? And as we said yesterday, through practice, maybe the gap is like this now, and through practice, it starts by itself becoming a little bigger and bigger. This gap, the space between one thought and the other becomes more and more. The more we observe, the more we disidentify from the thinking mind. Much like we said before, right? When we get lost in thought, we are like this. When we observe, this happens. There's a separation. This separation is, in itself, a disidentification. So, through the constant observation, we start slowly to disidentify more and more from the mind, from the egoic mind. It's not that the egoic mind disappears. It's just our relationship with it changes. So when the more I disidentify, the less cautious, the more cautious I am with the thoughts that are crossing my mind. I don't take them so seriously anymore at a certain point. It's like, okay, this is just a thought. While before it was like, oh my God, this and that is happening. And every thought is affecting the way I feel and the way I act. All right. So if I see something on TV that is it's a news that carries a lot of fear energy in it, right? It's a very scary news. That I listen to it and I receive it and I put it in the fear folder. And then later on, maybe in the middle of the night even, I wake up and then suddenly this information comes back into my mind. The memory of this scary information, this scary thought comes into my mind. And I start thinking about it, and then my heart starts pounding, and then I start feeling fear. And then I feel, wow, I'm scared, and I have anxiety. And it's like, hello, it's 3:00, you're in your bed, there is nothing happening, right? It's not happening in this moment. You're living in a virtual reality. That's what the mind does. But we're so identified, we believe what we think so much that we start feeling accordingly. So there I am in my beautiful warm bed, sleeping, and at 3 a.m, and suddenly I'm scared of what? Of a memory, of a thought that is based on an information that I absorb from the news. Whoa. Dude, that's the extent to which we are affected by everything we receive. And we believe it. And we believe it because it becomes part of our memory, which is part of our egoic self. Okay? So disidentify from the mind, it's freedom. It's what will bring total freedom in your life. Identify with the mind is a form of slavery that we're not even aware of. But we're not free. We're dependent on our thought, on what people tell us, and whatever we put in that hard drive. So mindfulness means observing everything that is happening so that we become the observer, and everything that crosses our consciousness, the sky, the blue sky of our consciousness, is an object that we observe. So there is just enough separation that we start learning not to get identified with it. And we observe it, bringing a quality of compassion. Very important. A loving attitude, compassionate attitude towards what we observe. If possible. If you can't bring compassion, bring neutrality. But whatever you don't want to bring is judgment. Yeah, so because it's very easy to create also a meditator's ego, right? Like, oh, now I'm a good meditator and I shouldn't think. And then if you notice a thought, you go like, oh no, I'm thinking again. Well, dude, we are again in the same boat there. It's again, who is judging, right? Who is saying you shouldn't think? Yeah, it's the meditator's ego that has been formed. So your ego is attaching to that and go like, be a good meditator, be a bad meditator, or whatever, right? So any judgment that you see arising, remember in that moment, observe it, and remember that is the egoic mind coming back from the back door, okay? That's why I say observation, Buddha used to call it choiceless awareness. An awareness that is aware of everything but doesn't choose. It's not like, okay, I want this, but I don't want that. No, accept everything as it is. Without any judgment, without any labeling, there's no right and wrong. Yeah. So it's important that the observation carries that quality of neutrality, or even better, of compassion and acceptance and lovingness towards this phenomenon that we are observing in all its facets. Okay? So sometimes, especially in the beginning, the mind can be quite overwhelming, and it keeps taking us away, and we keep getting lost in thoughts. So I like to give what I call anchors that are not really technique. And the difference between a technique and an anchor is that technique is something that is created to achieve a goal. The anchor is something that is already happening anyway within our consciousness, but we put an emphasis on it. So the anchor I want to practice today with you is one of the most used probably, and the ancient most from Buddha onward, which is awareness of the breath. Okay? This is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful anchor because the breath is always happening. The breathing is always happening. And it's very easy when we put attention on the breathing to feel that the mind is stopping. Yeah. So we take that energy that otherwise would go into the thinking process, the fuel. Our attention is the fuel, remember? We take that attention and we put it on the breathing. The breathing is a beautiful thing because it's, I see it as the bridge between consciousness, which is the formless, and the body, which is form. Because the breathing is air, but it's also, it's part of a body mechanism, right? Lungs, muscles. It's air, and through the air we receive life energy, which is called prana in the East. There is obviously also energy. Energy is also part of prana. Oxygen. It's also part of prana. But it's air. It's energy coming through the air. And then it becomes, in a way, physical. It takes form through the breathing into the body. So it's a beautiful connection between the formless and the form. So it's very easy to be aware of it because we feel it in our body. We can bring the attention to two places. My favorite is the belly that moves as I breathe in and out. When we are very relaxed, the belly will move when we breathe. If you look at children, they breathe from the belly. When we sleep, we breathe from the belly. Anytime we are relaxed, we breathe from the belly. We breathe from there. The belly moves. But if the diaphragm is contract, it cannot lower and allow that movement of the belly to happen. Then you don't feel it very much. Then you can focus on the nostrils, where the air entrance is. Feel the air entering at the nostrils. That's also okay. Either way, yeah? So you can feel the belly moving, or you can bring your attention to the nostrils. And so in today's meditation, we use this anchor, and I will guide you through now. So find a comfortable way to sit, if possible with a straight back. If you need to lean on something, it's okay, but maybe put some pillows to prop you, maybe on the lower back, so you're straight and you don't fall asleep. We want to be as present as we can. You will hear in the middle of the meditation a little bell, like the one we used yesterday morning. When you hear that bell, just one time bell, I want you to just notice where your attention is in that moment. If it's in the breathing, in the present moment, nothing to do, beautiful. If you were lost in thought, I want you to notice that, obviously, the thought that is crossing your mind. And you just come back to the breathing. Anything connected with the body, and obviously the breathing is always in the present moment. That's where we want to be. When we are in the mind, we are never in the present moment. So again, the practice is coming back to the present moment right now through tuning into the breathing, the breath. Sensing, not thinking about breathing, but sensing, feeling the breath. So when you're ready, you feel you can ready to close your eyes. You close your eyes and bring your attention inward. So we start to feel the body from inside. How does it feel? And if there is any little tension I can release, maybe the necks and shoulders. I notice how my back is feeling, maybe some little tension on the lower back can be released. And how I feel my chest and my frontal part of the upper body, my chest and the diaphragm and my belly. Just relax that area too. Traveling down with my attention to the hips and pelvic area. How do they feel? Just a quick scan of the body from inside. My thighs, knees and calves. And my feet. And the muscles around my face. Can I relax my face more? Just letting go of everything now. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. We just allow this moment to be. We allow ourselves to be here in this moment. And as I sense my body, I become aware also of sounds, the sound of my voice, some maybe softer sounds in the background. And I also, if there are no sounds, I become aware of silence. And that in that inner space, I notice that my breathing is happening. I just notice it. I don't do anything with it. I don't tamper with it. I just observe, bring my awareness to the movement of the breath that is happening on its own accord beautifully. I might bring the attention to the air, the sensation of the air entering at the nostrils. Or I might feel my belly that is moving gently as I breathe in and out. I feel the coolness of the air as it enters, the freshness. Like fresh energy coming into the body through the air. This is prana. This is what is nourishing your body. So when you breathe in, you might have this sense of fresh energy coming in, nourishment. And a sense of expansion comes with it. Nourishment and expansion. Just allow yourself to feel that sense of relaxed expansion that is energized by the in-breath, by the air coming in. Breathing in, expanding, nourishing, refreshing. It's a feeling of renewal coming with every in-breath. Life renewing itself. And you might bring your attention to the out breath now too. What does it feel like when I breathe out? There is a sense of letting go, emptying. There's a sense of relaxation with the out breath. I let the air go, but I can let go of everything else too. Any tension, any thought, I just release with every out breath. I release everything. I empty myself. So without changing the breathing, without tampering with it, I'm just becoming aware of this process and what brings to my body, mind. I continue letting go as I breathe out, relaxing, almost as if I'm sinking into the earth a little more with every out breath, relaxing more into the earth, into this place, in this moment. sending roots down into the earth, relaxing. You can give all your thoughts, all your tensions to the earth with every out breath. She can take a lot. And she's there to sustain you always. So with every out breath, I let go into the earth, release everything, grounding myself in this moment. You might also notice that there is a little pause at the end of the out breath. Feel that pause before the in-breath starts. There's a moment of pause. It happens naturally. No need to do anything. What does it feel like? You might sense there is a moment of complete stillness there, where every movement ceases. Just observing, not doing anything else. In breath, energizing, expanding. Out breath, letting go, relaxing, grounding. And you might start perceiving, just by observing this process, that is happening by itself, that you are not doing it. That is actually life breathing through you. It's existence breathing through your body. Life force. How beautiful that we can just completely let go, and that is still happening by itself. That realization can bring a profound sense of peace. A deep sense of beingness. If you notice that you're drifting off with a thought, you just notice that without any judgment of any kind. You just notice it and you bring back your attention to the breathing, to the present moment. Just being here in presence. Just resting in this presence, in this awareness. Noticing that you are the observer of the breathing process that is happening by itself. We come back. No rush. And when you're ready to open your eyes, you can open your eyes. Maintaining this part of the energy inward on the breath. Even when we open our eyes, we maintain a part of that energy towards our center, towards our breathing in this case. I can look outwards and still be aware that I'm breathing. Yeah, one doesn't exclude the other. Do not throw all your energy outward when you finish your practice, but you maintain a percentage of that energy towards the center, towards the breathing now. So I would like for you between now and the next session at 11. Of course, you do whatever you need to do. You'll move around. You might have breakfast or whatever. Go for a coffee or tea. But see if you can maintain this awareness of the breathing with you for the next couple of hours. Okay? So this is called mindfulness in action. How to maintain a sense of mindfulness in whatever we do in everyday's life. Because it's beautiful to meditate, have a practice. Maybe you sit every morning for half an hour, whatever it is. Beautiful. But then what about the other 16 hours of the day? That's also where we need to bring that same mindfulness. Otherwise, it's not enough. Bring the same quality, peaceful, centering quality to our actions. So one way to do that, how to bring mindfulness into our life, is to maintain a percentage of that attention that you had now. Now it was 100% inward. Maintain 50% of that inward, and 50% you use it to relate to the world. You use it to see things, to do things, to move your body, to perceive the outer world, to relate to people. But see if you cannot put 100% out, because then you lose your center. Okay? So look at it in this way. Keep 50% attention inward, 50% outward. That is mindfulness. Okay? And then we'll talk more about, we have a little more time at the open session, so we can share a little bit more. I want to hear about it from you. And you will forget again and again, then you will get distracted, you get completely absorbed by something that is happening. That's okay. And then you notice, oh, I forgot my breath. Bring a little attention to that again and continue doing what you're doing. Wash your dishes, feel your breath. Have your breakfast, notice that you're still breathing. Go for a walk, beautiful. Notice that you're still breathing. Just that for the next 2 hours. Yeah, can you do that? Or let's try. Okay, great. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see each other in a couple of hours at 11. Thank you very much. Yay.